Hey guys, in this video I'm going to teach you how to solve absolute value equations. Now there are 4 steps in order to do this type of problem. First, you got to isolate the absolute value symbols if necessary using inverse operations. So basically, you kind of treat the absolute value equations as if it's a giant variable and you want to get it by itself. Then, step 2, you need to write 2 separate equations. You need to set the constant equal to a positive answer and a negative answer. And then step 3, solve both of them separately. Your last step is to check that the answers make a true statement. Okay, so the first one says the absolute value of 3x minus 1 equals 6. So when I tell you that I want you to isolate the absolute value bars by themselves, I'm saying that I want you to isolate this entire thing here. So the absolute value of 3x minus 1. So what that means is there's nothing in front and nothing behind. So right now we're good. There's nothing in front of it and nothing behind it. So we don't have to worry about getting it by itself. So now we need to write 2 separate equations. The first one stays exactly the same. You're going to drop the absolute value bars and it becomes 3x minus 1 equals 6. Now the other one is to take the constant and make it negative. So 3x minus 1 equals negative 6. So those are our 2 equations. And you guys should know how to solve these because we've spent a ton of time doing that. So in either case, you're going to add 1 to start with. So now I have 3x equals 7. And then to get x by itself, I would divide by 3. And I'd get x equals 7/3. That's my first answer. Do the same thing on the other one. Add 1. This time I'm going to get 3x equals negative 5. Divide by 3. And I end up with x equals negative 5/3. So the one last thing you want to do is check and make sure that the answer makes sense. All right, so if you take your calculator, we can type all this in and make sure that it works. If you take the answer and plug it back in. All right, so first we would do 7/3 times 3, or 3 times 7/3, and then minus 1. Now we want the number inside the absolute value bar to be either 6 or negative 6. And we get 6. So then the absolute value of 6 is 6. So that one works. Now let's try the same thing but with negative 5/3. All right, so 3 times negative 5/3. Oops, delete. Then the parentheses, and then minus 1 gives me negative 6. And again, the absolute value of negative 6 is 6. So we know we did them both correct. So there are 2 answers to this problem. Almost every one of these problems will have 2 answers. All right, second one. Solve the absolute value of 2x minus 7 minus 5 equals 4. So again, I want you to get the absolute value bars by itself. That means all of this. So the only thing that's not included in the absolute value bars is that 5. So we got to get rid of that first. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. That will give me the absolute value of 2x minus 7 equals 9. Now I just have that left, so this is where I'm going to stop with the simplification. Now I need to split it into 2 equations. The first is 2x minus 7 equals 9, and the second is 2x minus 7 equals negative 9. And then you solve each equation. Add 7 to both sides. So 2x equals 16. Then divide by 2, x equals 8. Same thing over here. Add 7, 2x equals negative 2, then divide by 2, x equals negative 1. And then we're going to check our answers here. All right. So this time I'm plugging it in here. So first we're going to do 2 times 8 minus 7. So that's 9. The absolute value of 9 is 9, and then subtract 5, I get 4. All right, same thing on this side, but we're going to use negative 1. 2 times negative 1 minus 7 is negative 9. The absolute value of negative 9 is 9, minus 5 is 4. So we know that we did those ones correct as well. All right, last one down here. Again, I want to get the absolute value bars by itself. So that's all of this. That means I need to get rid of the 4 and the negative 5. So kind of treat this as though it were 4x minus 5 equals 11. So to solve that, your first step would be to add the 5. So now I have 4, absolute value of 2x plus 6 equals 16. Then divide by 4. That will give me the absolute value of 2x plus 6 equals 4. All right, the absolute value bars are by themselves here, so now I'm going to split it into 2 equations. The first is 2x plus 6 equals 4, and the second is 2x plus 6 equals negative 4. And then you're going to solve. Subtract the 6. So 2x equals negative 2, then divide by 2. X equals negative 1. Subtract the 6. Then we get 2x equals negative 10. Divide by 2. We get x equals negative 5. And then we can check our answers here. Start with the absolute value. So 2 times negative 1 plus 6 is 4. The absolute value of 4 is 4. So we end up with 4 times 4 minus 5, which is 11. Now let's try the negative 5. 2 times negative 5 plus 6. Oops, need the parenthesis in there. 2 times negative 5 plus 6 is negative 4. The absolute value of negative 4 is 4. So now I have 4 times 4 minus 5, which again is 11. So I know that these 2 answers are correct. All right, now they're not on this paper, but there is a special type that I want you to be aware of. So we're going to add an extra problem on here just so that we understand how to do a problem like that. Now, I'm just going to write them right up here. If you have a problem like the absolute value of 6x minus 8 equals negative 10, I want you to think to yourself, if I take the absolute value of something, am I ever going to get a negative answer? And by that I mean, if I take the absolute value of any number in the whole wide world, will it ever be negative? The answer is no. Because remember, the absolute value is just your distance from 0, and distance can never be negative. So this answer would automatically be no solution. And that only happens when you get the absolute value bars by themselves, and then they're equal to a negative. So here's another example. If I had the absolute value of 2x minus 5, and then I had plus 5 equals 3, I would need to get the absolute value bars by themselves first. In order to do that, I would subtract the 5. Then I would end up with the absolute value of 2x minus 5 equals negative 2. And there is no number I could put in for x that when I take the absolute value, I get a negative. So the answer of this would be no solution. And if you need a little extra help with one like that, just let us know, and we'll make sure to try and clear up any of your confusion. But that's it. That's how you solve absolute value equations.